Yes. So, oh yeah, and we are recording, so mind what you're saying. And yeah, so tonight's workshop is around barotraumas, and mostly the one while we descend, and we'll have a very short little chat about the ascending things. But before, so before I start and get into, so I kind of created a bit of a few notes. And thank you, Peter, for his feedback on reviewing those notes, because that's gave me some great feedback there that hopefully I addressed. And please, online or here, yeah, interrupt me anytime when I talk, because I can talk a lot. But to start with, I just was wondering if anyone had some incidents or things that they wanted to share around things that happens to them or to some of their friends around barotraumas. And barotraumas is anything that is to do with air spaces in our body and our equipment also. So anyone has experiences they want to share? I'm sure there are experiences around the table. No? No? Nobody ever had a problem with equalizing when going down? Or...
Equalizing, yes.
Yeah.
I've got surfers here, swimmers here, so
Okay.
it just takes me a while to get there.
Yeah. Anyone had a friend who panicked and kind of started going up, like blocking their things, and you had to punch them in the lungs to get them to.
I just punch my friends in lungs anyway.
Anyway, so
that's why no one dies.
No?
Stu. Actually, not me personally. My daughter had grommets when grommets in her ears because she had very short eustachian tubes as a baby.
Yeah.
So to relieve the pressure in her ears, they perforate the ear diaphragm and they put a little hole in there, and these grommets fall out. It's very common in kids, young kids, and so it's interesting now that that happened to her when she was 5 or 6. And she's now 16, and she now wants to go down and look at a dive, like learn how to dive, because she's done a lot of like going to reefs.
Yeah.
So we are now kind of transitioning it from being a fear for her because she couldn't balance because of the eustachian tubes being blocked and small as a baby, younger child, and now that she's being a more adult, they stretch out, they become bigger. We're having to transition the fear and the pain from that to this diving is, you got to equalize the pressure and
So she had that was too narrow, or that's blocked.
So that eardrum, where you said that eardrum is, that's where they put a little perforation. It's a little plastic insert. They call it a grommet.
And she can dive now.
The grommet falls out, and that eardrum repairs itself. So, yeah. How you doing, Jack?
Oh, cool. Yeah.
So, so a little familiar with it.
Yeah. Anything else? Anything online? Anyone wants to share something online that happens to them or to a friend or? No. Don't hesitate online as well to jump in anytime.
Yeah, and Peter, you guys are on mute too.
Are you? Yeah. Did you want? Is that 2 of them there? No, it's not us.
They're connected in.
Yeah. Oh well, if you want to let us know something, maybe just put it in the chat or something, because we can't. Okay, I'll keep going anyway. So, yeah. So let me start with first, and I like what does that term means, and as I said before, so baro means weight and trauma is wounds. So anything that's, but there it's really around pressure injuries really, and when you go down. It's the air becomes smaller and smaller and smaller at the same volume, and when you comes up, that air becomes bigger and bigger, and that's because of Boyle's law. which tells you that, you know, the pressure multiplied by the volume is a constant. So if you have 6 liters of air in a balloon at the surface, then when you take it down to 10 meters, because you have 1 bar at the surface, and then you have an extra bar of pressure every 10 meters, which is, you know, a little column of 1 centimeter square. That's what it weighs. And from the surface to the moon, that's what it weighs as well. So the most dangerous part is in those first 10 meters, really, for those descent barotraumas, because that's when the volume reduces by half. Or when you are at 10 meters and you come back up, it will double in volume. So you can imagine that, you know, when you have, as we were talking before, if you had a bit of, you know, air trapped in here, that is, and then that's not it being able to be released or being kind of, you know, getting the air back to the ambient pressure, then that air will squeeze. And when it squeezes, then that's where pain comes in.
Sorry, what's the relationship that with this sinus? Is it
I'll show you
You
a
get that?
picture in a minute as well, and you will see they're all connected. And with the sinuses, it's a little bit the same as with the inner ear there, where there is a tiny little tube that gets from the nose to the sinuses. And the same thing, if you're congested, if you have some, you know, some people, they can't dive because their eustachian tubes, you know, like if they didn't have the operation, your daughter would never been able to dive. So that's why you need to go and see a doctor before you start diving, because those things you wouldn't know unless you had, you know, somebody looking at it. Yeah, so that's, and here, you know, so we call that ear squeeze. So it's when you descend, it's a squeeze, and when you go up, it's a reverse squeeze. Is it? Sorry, I have to keep going back to my, because I learn all that, you know, in French, so I don't really always have the vocabulary in English to talk about these things. It's only now that I'm starting doing.
You're doing well.
Yeah.
You know, scuba diving a bit more seriously. So yeah, so it's a squeeze injury as we go down, and it's a reverse squeeze, like an expanding, you kind of, you know, injury when you come up. So, and as you go down, you know, if the volume reduces, if you're not able to put some pressure back in there to adapt to the ambient pressure, then, you know, the body will, first it will start, you know, being painful, and then the body will start, you know, filling up the space.
Sandra's coming down the chimney.
Oh, cool. Should we open it? And yeah, when it's the reverse, you know, when it expands, if it's a closed, like, you know, if it's a closed system there and you don't let the air out, either because it's trapped in your ear or in a tooth or in your lungs, then things will explode. It's not very, and you know, there will be pain before that as well, generally. So never ignore the pain. Pain is a great indicator.
I do know someone that's had reverse squeeze
Oh yeah,
and
which part of their body?
in their ear
Oh, in their ear.
coming up, and eventually ran out of air and had to just ascend and said, "You'll never do it again." Because he had a headache and pain for days and days.
Did the drum break or
No.
no?
I don't think so.
Okay.
But there was nothing he could do. He stayed down trying to wait for it to go, but eventually.
And that's a problem with decongestants, because if you take decongestants before diving, they don't
they wear
necessarily last for a long time. And then, you know, you do your dive and you're fine, you could go down, but then on the way up, you know, it's blocked again, and you don't have your decongestant there to do it while you're underwater. So be very careful about those. Yeah.
This is also common for people that go on aeroplanes, because
Yes.
the reverse happens on aeroplanes.
Yes.
So
Yeah. Because in the airplane, the pressure is lower than what you have.
Yeah.
So it's like going from the bottom coming back up.
Had that
Correct.
once.
Yeah. Lollies. Well, anyway, there is all the
Tears.
yeah.
Tears.
Lots of tears. Yeah. And the difference in pressure, I think, in the airplanes is a lot less than when you come back from 10 meters. It doesn't divide by 2. I think it's what, it's 0.8 or something in the
Yeah.
plane.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's, you know, so you go like 0.2, like if you go 2 meters below the surface. So, you know, and that's, yeah.
It's fun to wear your dive computer in the aeroplane. You can do your dive computer, put it on like if you have one of those that track your dive profile, you can watch the air pressure for the whole trip. But yeah, but it goes down to about, anywhere from 0.7 to 0.8, depending on what altitude you end up in and what type of planes. The new 777s have a better atmospheric control than what the older, 737s had and things like that. So anyway, I'll shut up now.
No, that's all cool. That's all cool.
That's interesting. You put it into just in dive mode.
In dive mode, yeah.
Yeah. And if you go to altitude to lakes and stuff, that's a lot more fun as well, because we won't go there. That would be for another day. But yeah, so let's have a look at where we have, and barotraumas, it's all linked to where we have air pockets in our body. It's also linked, sometimes, people who dive with dry suits and stuff like that, some fun things may happen due to that boil low, which is, pressure multiplied by volume is almost a constant. In French, it's NRT, but I can't remember what the N, the R, and the T stands for. That's all days brain, all brain. But yeah. So in the ear, you have the water. So you have the pressure that is, at 10 meters, 2 bars. And when you start going down, because that's a tiny little canal, then that pressure will pretty much stay, at 1 bar until you push a bit of air in there to kind of get it back. So what you want to do is you want the pressure on both sides to be the same. If it's not, what happens if your eardrum will start to curve, it will curve more and it will curve more, and then eventually, if you do nothing, there will be lots of pain, and then there will be what do they say? Let me have a look. Yeah. But before the burst, you will have hemorrhage, and then you will have the rupture. And apparently, once it breaks, the pain decreases. Did that happen to you? No. So it's not, if the pain stops, don't keep going. Just come back up.
So is it the distortion of the eardrum that causes the pain?
Yeah. And however, hearing loss, you may have vertigo, you may have tinnitus, so if you have any of those, well, as soon as you have pain, especially in the ear, if you cannot get, if there is a little bit of pain as you descend, what you do, you come back up a little bit, and then you try the different, and I will go through the different techniques that we have there to, so we know the Valsalva maneuver that you block your nose, but there are many others that you can try as well. If that doesn't work, come back up. It's not worth taking the risks and then, putting everybody else in danger as well. So, and also another fun fact is sometimes, it's the pressure, across the left and the right ear might be different, and that will cause also vertigos and things like that. And once you have vertigo underwater, well, you kind of you lose it, and if your body is not close there, and you start vomiting, disorientations, and you know what's I won't go any further than that, but lots of bad things happen. Same in the sinuses. So you were asking about the sinuses. So the sinuses, we have four of them. 2 at the top here, 2 in the cheekbones there, and they all link from the nose and the throat to by these tiny little vessels, by these tiny little canals. How do you say that word? Canal. Oh, like in French. Just say like a French person. And it's the same thing. So here you can see inflamed ones with inflammations. They might get blocked. If they're totally blocked, and that airspace will kind of start shrinking as you go down, and that would be bad. If you take decongestants, then it might be open at the surface. You go diving, and then it blocks again on the way back up. It will be very painful. So another space where there might be air you know, you have a bad teeth, there is a little bit of air in there, depending how, you know, if it's closed off. And as soon as you start descending, that will start to shrink as well if there is no way for the air to come through. And well, pain again. So again, pain come back up, especially in the sinuses, in the ears, and the teeth as well. If you're lucky enough and you don't even notice it, and you have a tiny little bit of air going in that, you know, as you're diving, you're going down, there is a tiny bit of air, you know, coming into that teeth. Well, you don't come up at the same speed as you went down, so you don't spend as much time going up as you do going down. Then all of a sudden that tooth is going to start hurting because all that air would want to go out. There is only a tiny little bit of air that can come out at a time, and yeah, you might lose a tooth then, and that's a bit painful as well. So, you know, yes. So there is a little bit of words there around, you know, dental care. What is super important with your teeth as a diver is once a year, make sure that at least once a year, or maybe even 6 months if you've got, you know, coverage from your health insurance, go and have your teeth checked. And before you start diving, if you haven't dived for a long time, it's also worth, you know, going to a specialist dentist that knows about diving and that will check for all these issues. So, and if something happens, you know, there is some cold compress, over-the-counter pain relievers, hot and colds, eat soft food, blah, blah, blah. But really, the main things is regular dental checkup. And also, if you have mouthpieces, be mindful of that. And when you dive, also relax. Don't, you know, bite your regulator. I remember my first snorkel when I started diving, it lasted me less than a year. I had to change it at the end of that first year. Now I still have the one that I bought after that. So it's, you know, it's just relax, get relaxed, you know, and just enjoy the ride. And also, if you just had dental work done, you know, yesterday, don't go diving. Wait a couple of days. Ask your dentist, you know, tell them what you're going to do. Ask them their opinion there. It's important. So think about that. Yeah, and my squeeze. I don't know if you've ever seen somebody, you know, coming back up at the surface with very red eyes and think, so well, they forgot to, you know, blowing air regularly from your nose into the mask. So the mask also has air in it. If you don't put a bit of air in there every now and then, or you do ones of Peter's favorite exercises, you take the mask off every now and then and you put it back on, and then you have to blow the water out and you put some air in there. So everywhere where there is
Just online, someone had like all rules.
yes,
For the mask.
yeah. So yeah, and that's just because they didn't blow any air in there. And you don't need to go very down. If you just like even if you do free diving and you just go at 2 or 3 or 4 meters, that's enough to get those problems. So even if you do free diving without a tank and nothing, you still have to blow some air in there. So I'm going to ask a few questions now before I show you. How can you, as a diver, avoid decent barotraumas?
Equalize on the way down.
Yeah, that's one of them. We just mentioned blow air in your
Air into the mask.
mask. So before the dive, what do you need to think about?
Make sure you don't have cold or congestion.
And that's the big one. Make sure if you have a cold, if you're congested, don't even, you know, just say it's not a diving trip for me. It's not.
Don't even think about taking decongestions.
No, because unless, you know, you have talked to a doctor and all that, and a diving doctor hopefully as well. Okay, so be very mindful about that, because it will most likely hurt. Anything else?
There must be people like me though who often suffer with hay fever, so I'm often taking antihistamines.
Yeah.
You know, that's something I just take for granted. If I'm going to go diving, I take an it's part of my normal.
Yeah, just
Daily
take
life.
your antihistamine like 3-4 days beforehand. You know, start taking them a few days before. Definitely. What else can we do?
A tight wetsuit.
It has quite a lot of effect on the body.
Lots of,
The tight wetsuit has a lot of effects on the body. Like you can't properly breathe.
yeah,
You can't, vent your lungs properly.
be comfortable with your equipment and all that. Make sure that, you don't have something that is going to make you think and get tight wetsuit. You're not going to be able to breathe as freely, as comfortably. And then you think about it a bit much, and then you might not equalize as much as you should, and so on.
Equalise before you get in.
A tiny little bit, yes, I'll cover that, yes. And often, but not too often as well, because they are also, if you do it too much, then you damage your eardrums as well, because then you put the pressure the other way. So you have to be careful with that. Gosh, it's not as simple as we thought, isn't it? For that. So here are a few other things as well that, I never thought about it, although I know I have a bit of, I'm always quite congested because I have sinusitis, chronic sinusitis, but, and I do that, and like before, a few days, a week even before going diving, I kind of stop eating, dairy. So milk, cheese, although, it's hard for me to stop the cheese, but I do it for going diving. And also eggs, so all those products, they will get it inflamed, they will, yeah, so we covered congestions and colds. We covered, if you feel that, you came back from your plane where you had your ear, very bad problem with your ears, don't go diving that same day. Just wait a couple of days before you go diving, because that's just, wait for it to resolve. Here they also say breathe fresh air. So if you're sitting next to the engine in the boat, just maybe move somewhere else, because everything's got and one thing that I do as well is neti pots. So salt water, and I do that. Like
What's a neti pot?
a neti pot. It's just a little pot. It's like a teapot. It's a teapot. You put water with a saline solution in it, and you just rinse through your nose. So it goes through your sinuses. It comes in one nice nostril. It's very disgusting, because then you have lots of stuff coming out, but it's very effective. And that's just the things that you can do. You can do that. That is not going to, it's just going to help. And I will show you a little videos, because I have those problems. I went to see the ENT before I did my induction dive, and then I realized, well, I'm very kind of, my ears are not well. So I was wondering, is that because old age? Can I dive? So I went to see the ENT, and he gave me some great advice as well. I've got a little video I'm going to play later on.
I think also Sudafeds are pretty important thing to use
Yes.
prior and post dives, particularly if you're doing repetitive dives.
Yeah.
Sudafed PE or Sudafed? Yeah, good point.
I'm using PE now.
PE.
It doesn't last quite as
No.
long, but
And Aqua.
Yeah. So for afterwards for rinsing, and I started using these things that I put in my ear. I can't remember how they called somebody on the Facebook,
dive
and they are
pods or something.
yeah. They're helping a little bit
Yeah.
as well, and they let the air through and all that. So with the pressure, it doesn't
I
impact.
have a mask. I have problems on when I go out. When I come up, my ears block. I can't hear for quite a while. So I got this thing that I use it once, twice, and it's a mask that has like something that goes into your ears or whatever it is. And there was a guy, I saw this one, a guy, I was like, he didn't have an eardrum, so he had one of these special masks on. So I'm wondering whether that,
Oh wow.
I think those masks are supposed to, I know it's real or not.
Yeah.
Connect up to your nose so that you.
Oh, that was, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Wow.
You should not use.
So you just blow out through your nose. Yeah.
So I have one at home. Anyone wants to try it for any reason, they can borrow mine.
Wow. Okay. I might take you on that, because I do have problem equalizing. So that's why when I go diving, and I've been diving with Angus last weekend, and with
Someone, was it you that had the earplugs?
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. That's why. But I still need to go very slow and going feet first. But we'll see that later on as well.
I don't know, you kept up with me.
I just let you. Yeah. Yeah, so, oh yeah, here is that little video. So I'll just show, and that video is also on the YouTube. Where is that little video? But that was, so when I went to see that Edouard at Brighton ENT, that was kind of what he said at the end, and he allowed me to, so.
I think it's recording. Is it recording? Yes, it is recording.
Yes, recording. Okay,
It's
so
recording. Thank you. So
think of cleanser, toner, moisturizer. The salt
Yep.
water helps you to clear away the mucus. You do it every day
Not an
and
idiot.
blow the nose. Then
Okay.
medications like Dymista. You do 2 sprays, 2 nostrils, twice a day, 2 months or longer.
okay,
So if you feel like your baseline is getting worse, you try
Yep.
to improve your baseline.
okay,
Now, this can make the nose a bit dry, and if
Yep.
that happens, then use a moisturizer.
Yep.
The moisturizer you do not need to use every day, but you may if you wish to.
okay,
So these 2 medications will be spray salt water or your
Yep.
neti pot,
Yep.
blow the nose, then this 2 sprays twice a day,
Yep.
expecting by 2 months the nose is going to be as good as possible.
okay,
If that works and you stop and you get worse, you start again, expect a bit of a lag time until you get better, and then you use it again.
yeah. And that's if this
is not enough, yes.
If this is not enough, yeah.
Yeah.
And when do I take?
If you
The
feel
antihistamine.
if you feel sneezy or snotty,
Okay, cool.
yeah, that'll help to dry you up a bit.
Okay,
So that was
That's a
it.
lot of prep, isn't it?
Yeah, you know, especially like, you know, if you want to go on a dive trip and you're like me, you know, you have those chronic issues, then, you know, it's worth doing that. Then at least you can, and I haven't started doing that treatment 2 months prior, but I'm going to start now because I'm going to go on the May trip. So I think it's worth doing.
So that last box, which had that sign, thing, that's the one you shouldn't take before the dive.
Oh, the decongestant. Yeah,
Yeah.
the last. No. The Sudafed is not.
Sudafed.
The Sudafed.
It operates in a different way.
It's not. Yeah, it's kind of. It has a longer effect.
Okay.
So it's the sprays. Yeah, try to avoid the sprays.
before.
If you want to use the sprays, go and talk to a diving doctor. Yeah. Okay, so that's before the dive. While descending, so there are a lot of different techniques, and I heard of some of them, like the one where you say, you know, the Frenzel maneuver, where you say a little, you make that sounds, you know, you pinch your nostril. But anyway, so you have passive, that's, you know, when you come back up. You also have, for a long time, when I started diving, I needed to do nothing. I would just breathe, and, you know, never had to do the Valsalva maneuver or any of those. And that's, you know, and now what I do is when I go down, if I have, first things I do, I take my legs out and I just do a big yawn, and I move my jaw, and I open my mouth so people will see me, you know, as I go down, like every minute or so, I do that. And then if that doesn't work, then I do a little bit of the Valsalva. But I'm definitely, and I heard of the one with the letter K as well. There is also that one that, I don't know how to pronounce that word, the maneuver. Anyone does that?
Yeah, swallow.
Yeah, so you pinch and you swallow.
Yeah, sometimes I do that.
Yeah,
Rather than blowing all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pinching and blowing.
you just
sometimes
speak and
it's
swallow.
Swallow.
Yeah. And you know, the softer you are with, you have to be very soft with that, because remember, you've got your eardrum there at the ends. And yeah, and this one as well, you just push your jaw forward and you do then, you know, the other one. So a lot of things to try, especially if you're like me, you know, it doesn't always go down very well. But what I do is I take my time now. And, you know, and because I had that, I just went to see an ENT to make sure that, and he said, oh yeah, you know, yeah, a bit of scar in there, you're getting old. Like, oh, okay. Thank you for the reminder. I knew that, but here we are.
Something that I came across recently, which I've tried because I'm not 100% sure whether it makes much difference, is because normally when you're having trouble equalising, you're sort of doing this and pointing down, but if you actually raise, look up,
Oh, yeah.
I've read that can actually make a difference, you know, because normally when I've had trouble equalising, my head down.
Oh, yeah. And you
Yeah, whereas if you're looking up, yeah.
yeah, it
That
might make
can
you
make
relax a
sense.
little more as well. Yeah. So here we are. So And here are, you know, the tips that we were talking about before. While you are neutrally buoyant, you know, gently you employ one of them, but very gentle. Don't go like, you know, like stupid there, because again, and then descending feet first will help as well. Gently, you know, inflate your ears every 10 to 15 feet, so that, you know, as soon as I start feeling a tiny bit of pressure, I just do a very gentle one. If I have to do the Valsalva, or I take my legs out and I try to swallow, I open my jaw, you know, I do all these things, and I just wait until the tension there kind of released, and then I keep going down. So it might take me a few minutes to go down. It's worth it. Pain is not acceptable. Okay, really remember that. So if you have pain, you stop, you go back up a little bit, you resolve it. If it doesn't resolve, you wait for your body to realize that you're not going down. You wait for them where you are, and then you tell them, you know, ear problems, I'm going up. And that's it. At the end of that dive for you. But at least, you know, you still have an eardrum in good order. Yeah. Oh, and they say also helpful to tilt your blocked ear towards the surface. So I hadn't heard that. So, you know, lots of little tips, and these notes there, I've put them online in the workshop, so you can go and look at them. Yeah, about if you anytime during your dive you experience pain, vertigo, or anything else, you know, do not dive again, even if you're on the boat for the next 5 days. Just stay in the sun then, and yeah. Any questions, comments, stories? No, that's the time. So, oh yeah, and one of the questions that Pete was asking in this quiz was, what is forceful equalization? Why is it risky? And again, you know, doing it too often can stretch the eardrum, damage the inner ear, and cause pain, as well as making it even harder to equalize. So just, you know, if you're on the boat for 5 days, don't go like super hard on equalize there. And then when you come, oh, is there a question online?
Yes, I got feedback.
Somebody wanting to say something online?
I have a question.
Yes.
I've been telling people that you get better at equalising as you do more diving. Am I spreading an urban myth?
As you get older, it gets harder and harder, as I discovered. Well, I didn't dive for about 10 years, so. But I think it depends on your ears. You might get better at the technique, I would assume, but I don't think.
I have noticed, Andrew, perhaps this is what you're describing, is I've noticed that when I go away on a club dive for a set period, like let's say 5-7 days type stuff, and when we do repetitive diving over that period, my ears, it's easier to equalize. I find it, you still have to equalize, but I find it my body does it a lot simpler.
You know
I
why?
don't physically have to hold my nose. I can,
Yeah.
I'm one, so.
yeah. So
Do you know why?
no, I don't know why. I just,
Yeah.
I think it might be because, you know, when you,
I think
when you do it
more sinuses, everything gets flushed out over
Yeah.
time.
That's true as
This is
well.
a-
Yeah, salt water is good for, you know, for rinsing and things.
yeah. So that was just an observation. That was, and I have no medical evidence or knowledge on that front. So
Yeah.
I know when I did my freedive training, if I was going down on the rope with my head up, I found it really easy to equalise. But if I was head down first, made a huge difference.
Yeah. And
So-
here they're explaining why. They're saying to allow air to travel naturally upward into the eustachian tube, because the eustachian tube is kind of going up like this, isn't it? So if you go downwards, you're kind of going against nature. Yeah.
got to learn how to break wind on the way down.
Yeah. Any other questions? Nope. So on the ascent, so there is the obvious one, you know, about the lungs. Don't even, and I know that when I was doing my training in France, one things we had to do is we would have to just take, you know, a normal air at, I can't remember if it was 20 or 30 meters down, and then take our legs out and just, we would come back up slowly to the surface. And by just opening the mouth and relaxing, we will just let the air come out by itself. And you can, you know, easily come back to the surface, even from, you know, from down below. But you have to remember to let that air come out of your lungs. It's a fun exercise to do, you know, when you come back from 20 meters or whatever. Just take your leg out, open your mouth, relax. Don't forget to relax, because if you tense, the air won't come out. And you will see the air coming out, you know, faster and faster as you go up. It's quite a fun little exercise to do. Sinuses and teeth, as I was saying before, you know, if they filled up slowly while you dive and they blocked, then, so that's that reverse squeeze things. And another one that Peter mentioned, he says to also mention gut squeeze. Apparently, you know, if you had, you know, a bit of gas in there, as you were diving, when you come up, your gut will expand and you might have a big tummy by the time you get up, I guess. But, you know, it can be uncomfortable. I don't think it's very dangerous. I didn't ask any further questions, but, you know, I can.
Sandrine?
Yes?
Sorry. No, stuff typing, mate. Just talk.
Hi, Sandrine. With your free ascents, just emphasise it should not be practiced like we used to do in the old days. Because the whole of the lung may not, in fact, evacuate air from it. You may have a closed off alveolar or alveolar series of alveoli. You can still get a ruptured lung. So do not practice free ascents.
Okay. All right. And can you tell us more about the gut squeeze?
Well, it works the same way. If you're producing air in your gut, and if you had sort of a gas producing meal and you're at depth and you're still producing gas, then as you come up, that'll expand and that can press on the intestinal walls and so on and can create pain and sort of really sort of colicky pain, which can be quite uncomfortable. So it depends on your diet to a large extent and whether there's any gas in your gut at the time when you're at depth. And then you come up and it's a reverse squeeze, same as the other ones are.
Is that why I enjoy a good belch and a fart when I get back on the boat?
Yeah, that's right. Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, that's right.
In the dry food.
Yeah, it's not the dry suit blowing up. Okay, I think we're done with comments from this end.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, and we mentioned also yeah, so here there was a question in the quiz as well, you know, not to the dive treatment, divers experience tenderness in the ears, so they're not as lucky as Angus. So what is happening? What's the risk if they continue to dive? I think we kind of covered that. You know, if you're having pain, just don't go down, even if you're on the trip. And that's alternobaric vertigo. Oh yeah, that's when the pressure between both ears is different. So.
Hi, Sandrine.
Hello.
Sandrine, me again. The
Yes.
key thing about multi-day dives and why your ears get tender, and Angus is very lucky, you've got to realise that every time you equalise, the fact that the air's going up there's been a minor squeeze. So there's been a minor swelling of the mucous membrane. So what happens over time, those effects are additive. So you're sort of doing a little bit of damage every time. You can't avoid it because you've got to go down a little bit. That pressure difference is generated and you get a little bit of swelling, tiny little bit of swelling. And so it's the additive effect of lots of little bits of swelling, which over multiple days makes it a little bit more bruised, if you like.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Cool. Any other feedback, questions, comments? Oh yeah, and there is also, I wanted to mention, if anyone wants to know more about things that can go wrong during diving, there is this fabulous book that is free online from the ADSCF. I click, want to say allow? Let's see, have a look. It's this diving medicine for scuba divers. So it's 160 odd pages there. I think, oh no, 342 pages, but it's very comprehensive. We all know John, well, a lot of us know John Littman and a lot of the other guys as well. That's edited and updated. I think the original authors are Edmonds, Thomas, and Mackenzie's, but it's a mine of, and it's very fun to read as well. It's got lots of cute little pictures and things there, but it covers a lot of ground. So if you have any things that you're not sure about or whatever, you just go online there and you have this fabulous reference there, so you don't have to, troll the internet and try to not sure about your sources and things.
It's got a section on seasickness.
Well, John's also summarised it in the emergency.
Oh yeah.
So,
yeah.
So you don't need to read through as much, but he's got a summary on those. And those diving emergency handbooks, they're in the middle of the table. They're available through our shop. They're free. Anything you pay for postage, you don't want to pick it up here. But it's a wealth of information.
Yeah.
And we strongly encourage every boat owner should have one of those on their boats. And then up to you.
They have lots of little cute pictures as well, all through the books. And that's, oh, here we are. That's the air pressure one. So I really and that link is also on the workshop page for. Yeah, so that's any further comments, stories? I'm sure Peter, you will have many stories you can share with us, or and we have lots of experienced divers there as well in Tassie. Anyone's got a story to share there?
How's the red?
Yeah, they're all busy prepping our next course at the moment. Yeah, so we're gonna break off when you break off and do our barbecue. So we'll have our crayfish done. Our prawns should be just about done. The scallops, I hope we don't overcook them. But anyway, we should be just about done by the time you guys get back.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you, everyone. And thank you, Peter, immensely for your help with this, and everyone else for your participations and your little stories there. And see you. Ciao.
Thank you very much, Sandrine.
Thank you. Oh, before I go, sorry. And next month, we already have the topic, and Andrew is going to cover accident debriefing. There will be a video that we will ask you all to kind of watch at home. It's a 37 minutes video on an accident, in fact, a death that happens, and the debrief and the discussions about that. Peter is as well going to send us a few little things to watch for and some prompts to help us watch that video. If you're very sensitive to this kind of subjects, you might not want to watch it because it's quite confronting. I watched it a little while back, and it's life as a diver as well. So we have to be ready for this kind of thing. So yeah, thank you, Andrew, for taking that one on next month, and then next month we'll see what we do for the following months. Thank you. That's it.
Thanks, Sandrine.